One of the biggest pains and barrier to entry for developers in Cardano is the process of actually having to set up everything to be able to run Cardano smart contracts on the blockchain. This can be in fact a huge pain for developers, but while we were kind of stuck with it in the beginning when smart contracts launched, it doesn't need to be like that anymore. The Cardano community has really created some incredible solutions that increased and improved the developer experience a lot. And one of these tools is Kuber and the Kuber IDE. They are basically replacements for the PAB and for the Plutus Playground. And basically with the Kuber IDE, you can start developing right away without having to set up anything. Everything is set up for you already, and you can start creating and testing your smart contracts directly from your browser. You can learn everything you need to know about this awesome tool in this video, and we'll also have an incredible demo for you to see how easy it is to use it. So Kuber and the Kuber IDE make it so much easier to develop on Cardano and to start writing and testing your own smart contract. In this video, we will have an interview with Ronald, that is one of the founders and the CEO of Dquadrant, alongside with Sandeep, the other co-founder and the CTO for this company. Dquadrant is a company that has done some great work in the Cardano ecosystem, supporting several teams and projects, including working with IOG for many projects and for the development of Cardano, and is the company that has developed Kuber and the Kuber IDE. Ronald will clarify all the questions about Kuber and explain you how you can use it, and we will even have a demo video by Sudeep, that is the core developer for Kuber IDE, showing you exactly how easy it is to use it. Dquadrant is certainly a great team, one that has shown a lot of openness and availability to help teams in the Cardano community, in the Cardano ecosystem, to develop their own projects, or even to just search vulnerabilities in their codes, for example. And it's a team that has an amazing set of knowledge and an amazing track record, to be honest. You can learn more about them in a video that is coming extremely soon, in a video interview. So if you're interested about that, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you get warned when that video comes out. It's definitely a team you should check if you are trying to build on Cardano. You should just reach out to them and see if they can help you somehow, because they have a lot of knowledge both in the back end, front end, everything you need. And of course, you'll have also other great videos to come if you subscribe, so please do so. But now let's start learning about Kuber and the Kuber IDE. But can you explain, to our users, what is the Plutus backend? I think some people, especially business people or something like that, might not know what is the Plutus backend and why is it important.
The Plutus backend is basically a client runtime for Plutus dApps. The purpose is to handle requests towards smart contracts, either for input or for what is happening on the chain related to events that are happening there, to communicate that back into your own solution. So you're making your distributed app, let's say, decentralized app, and that needs to communicate with the blockchain. And the Plutus Application Backend is basically the app, the interface to communicate with the Cardano blockchain.
Okay, so could be also, for example, useful for a testing environment and all that as well.
Basically that's what it is. But like I told you, in 2020, there were still a lot of issues to be solved by IOHK, and this Plutus Application Backend, well, they took it as a very huge project. They wanted to solve everything with that Plutus Application Backend for any, let's say, business demand. So what you get then is a monolith. A monolith with everything in it that is not usable.
Okay, can you explain us and our viewers in a very simple way what is Kuber, what is also the new improvement that you're working on with the Kuber IDE, and also explain anyone interested how could they start using these tools, what do they need to do, how easy is
Well, I told you already, Kuber API is a library, a replacement of the PAB. That's basically being able to communicate directly with the Cardano blockchain, take events from there, etc., etc., and basically integrating with smart contracts. That's what you can say. It is, in this case, it is a Plutus Haskell library. So our solution is based on the programming language that Cardano basically brought to the table. So this API is battle tested because we have used it for over 2 years already in the marketplace, which is live. Currently, there are still teams in Catalyst Fund 10 asking for funding to create something we already have and is operational for many years already. So that's kind of surprising me that people are doing that. So it means that not everyone is aware that this API is available.
Yeah.
And that it is available as open source. So you can take what is already there and you can extend it if you need more. Then you have this API. Well, how can you make use of this API? Either you can consume it directly, from your own Plutus language, but that is not so convenient because then you don't have all the tools around it which you need basically to interact with smart contracts, to interact with wallets, to interact with the network. And that's basically why we built on top of this API, we built an IDE. And this IDE is basically giving you a user interface where you can easily consume this API, and be productive immediately because all the tools are basically there. You can compile, you can test, you can work against different networks, and basically you can sign your transactions by the integration that is already there with all the Web3 wallets in Cardano.
Okay, like the Plutus Playground, something similar to that, right?
Yeah, you can compare it with Plutus Playground, and that's what we called it in the first phase. It was Kuber Playground in the beginning, and we changed it to Kuber IDE because it's more than a playground. You play in a playground if you start with something, and if it's getting more advanced, well, you have to come up with a different name. So that's why we made it Kuber IDE. The Kuber API is basically the replacement for the PAB, but it's taking away every complexity. So think about, if you need to know how Cardano works, you need to know which components are there. Let's say the Cardano node, the DB sync, all these kind of tooling, you need to know how to operate them. And basically, everything we abstracting away with this API. All this complexity is completely abstracted away. So you don't need to know anything anymore about this complexity, how to set it up, how to make it work. You can go immediately to your browser, you can start it, and you can start being productive. You don't have to install anything. The only thing you need to install is even not our product, is one of the Web3 wallets which you prefer. Either it's Nami, Eternal, Typhoon, or something like that. It doesn't matter. The environment is completely set up and you can start being productive. You can get hands-on, active. You can use one of the sample smart contracts which is there. You can change it according to your likes, and basically you can start running it.
Okay, that's really cool. That's very easy. It's in your browser and everything. Okay, I'll share the links as well in the description of this video for anyone who wants to check it out, test it out, and use it. But can we talk about like what are the benefits of Kuber and Kuber IDE compared to existing solutions right now, and also if we could, for example, compare it to maybe like Demeter Run and everything that's happening in that ecosystem with Aiken and all those new programming languages everyone is talking about.
It's very hard for me to compare anything with something in the ecosystem. I don't want to hurt anybody in the ecosystem because it's always sensitive to talk about somebody else's product.
Yeah.
I can only say there are several providers of, let's say, of a replacement of the Plutus Application Backend. Why? Because they all face the same problem.
Yeah.
The Plutus Application Backend provided by IOHK was not fit for their business purpose. Yeah? And, well, it depends on what you need. If you are creating a DEX, for example, your demands can be completely different related to the Plutus Application Backend than when you're making an NFT marketplace.
Yeah.
You understand? So there it's very hard to compare. So it's comparing apple and pears.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want to do. And that's why I'm saying, well, there are obviously solutions out there that deliver something similar like the Kuber API. Yeah. But most likely for their business case.
Okay.
So it's just good to know for people in the ecosystem what is our Plutus Application Backend delivering. And they can see that by going into the open source repository. They can see everything that is specified over there. We have complete documentation there, so it's transparent, it's open, and they can decide if they can take something from it, yes or no. So that's related to our PAB replacement, which is called Kuber API.
Okay.
Yeah, it has two interfaces. It has a JSON interface and it has a Plutus Haskell interface.
Yeah, and because at the time when you're developing, that was the language for Cardano.
Exactly, and now things are moving a little bit in different directions because people are enthusiastic about Aiken, which is based on Rust, but that doesn't mean that our solution is outdated. Our solution is very actual. Yeah, there are a lot of Plutus developers around in the meantime. And next to that, we are always open to look into opportunities to leverage what we have built and to think about introducing another programming language underneath it. So it's not so difficult to think that we could have the same interface for another program language, which could be Aiken or something else which come up in the future.
Yeah, and you're always improving it. In fact, we even had some proposals and catalysts to improve on Kuber and the Kuber IDE. Can you tell me what improvements are you thinking about applying, what you want to do?
There are compiler improvements. The compiling time is currently, let's say, fractions of a second. We want to bring that to milliseconds. And next to that, we want to have support for writing, running smart contract tests, showing coverage, basically. We want to improve the syntax highlighting and the navigation in Kuber IDE to make it more smooth than it is now. We already did a lot of polishing after the beta, which we launched in the second month of 2023 was that. We did that for IOG, education team. And that's also where our idea came from to build this kind of solution, because we served them at several hackathons at Consensus. And the problem there was always when they were inviting people for the hackathon, nobody was productive. Everybody was struggling with setting up the back-end infrastructure, which is needed to run.
And here, with your solutions, you can basically have it ready really quick and just focus on developing.
Available. You don't have to set up anything. You only have to install your Web3 wallet, and that's it. And you can run with it.
That's really cool. I mean,
and that is also something that Demeter Run with their platform is delivering. And we actually have also Kuber IDE available as a component there. You can install it on that platform, and if you're a Plutus programmer, you can use it there, and you can scale also with hundreds of developers. And the Kuber IDE, basically, we want to improve it also for Git integration. So if you are making changes on your smart contract, you're committing that basically into a repo. You have your changes over there. You can roll back and this kind of stuff. And we want to have facilities for auditing your smart contracts. So we know what kind of vulnerabilities there are in smart contracts related to Cardano.
That's really good because security is very important, and sometimes, especially for people who are less experienced, it's easy to maybe have some kind of security vulnerability that you're not aware of. So that's certainly something we need in the ecosystem.
Yeah, and
What else?
and next to that, we want to enhance our documentation further. That's what we also did with this phase, going from the beta to the first product. We did a lot of enhancement in the documentation, provided more samples.
I don't know about you, but at least for me, this interview really clarified a lot of questions about Kuber and Kuber IDE, and it really seems like a great tool. So if you've enjoyed it as well, please leave a like to support this video and help us reach more people and more developers to know about these amazing tools they can already use. You know, they don't need to build it to get fund from Catalyst or anything. They already have it open source for them to build on top, for them to use. So I do think it can make their lives much easier. But to have a complete understanding of this tool, I think it's important to have a step-by-step guide on how to use it, and that is exactly what Sudip, the core developer for Kuber, has created for us to empower you to start using it right away.
I have a Fruther demo of Kuber, and let's get started with the IDE. Once logged in, you can access this IDE, and today we are going to compile a basic Plutus contract, then test a different transaction, test and build different transaction, and then submit the transaction on Kuber Intro. For that, let's view a contract, and the contract we will be using it from one of the examples, multi-signature. And in the multi-signature contract, we have a list of signatories and a number of signatures required. And this will validate the signatories and then confirm the transaction. In this example, we have a single payment key hash and only one required key. Let's update this contract, and in order to update this contract, I will provide it my own copy hash. And we have this address decomposition feature, and we can see our NAMI copy hash from this. And this is my NAMI copy hash, and I will also copy copy hash from my eternal wallet. Yeah, let's see this address, and this is our credential. We will set the number of signatures required to. So both of these wallet must sign this sign the transactions. Let's compile this. And we have our contract. In order to use the contract, we will first need its address, and address can be created with this compose address feature. And this has to be set to script hash. Okay, this creates the address, and now we can use this address. Let's first pay to this address and try it. In order to pay, our transactions have output with the address of our contract, and we will need datum. Datum would be empty datum with empty fields and constructor 0. This is the unit datum in Haskell. Okay, we'll also do set the amount of order to be sent after the city to 25 order. Okay, and in order to test, you can write multiple UTXOs. You can just send 3 UTXOs to this contract. 25 order each. We will use the Eternal wallet, and we are on preview network. Okay. The transaction is compiled, and I can sign and submit this transaction. Okay, the transaction is signed and now submitted to. Now, in order to actually see our contract work, we will need to redeem one of these outputs. We have the transaction as here, and 0, 1, and 2, 3 outputs. So, what we need is the input in our transaction, and the input will be in the UTXO. Just keep this input, and the datum is already inlined. We don't need the datum. The redeemer is again unit redeemer. That will be empty fields and constructor 0. We also need the script code because we have not provided any reference script. That's something we could have done, but we don't have it, so we will also provide script. And the script is our old script. The script code we already lost the output. Can copy it from the log server, recompile this contract once again, and every time we compile, the code will be same. So we can use this script code here. Okay. Okay. And now we take this input and we just make a transaction. Let's try to compile this. Okay. Not enough signatures. So we do not have enough signatories that have signed this transaction. If we see our contract, it says not enough signatories if the transaction doesn't have enough signatures. If present is not greater or equals to min number of signatures. So we will have to add the extra signatures in the transaction body itself, and we will simply copy the two key hashes. Let's copy these two. Let's try it with single, and this should fail. Okay, this is the same message once again, and with 2 it should work. And this compile. Yes, we have the transaction ready. Now we can partial sign this transaction with Eternal. Okay, this transaction is now available. We can try to submit this transaction. We will get error, and the error is failed in the 0th input. We can try like other wallet now, Nami, and submit it with the Nami. And it says proper message. It says that signature is missing. So we said that these 2 signatures are required, and the signature is missing. We will use Nami, and we can now directly sign and submit with Nami. Okay, because we built the first transaction with Eternal, so the change was the Eternal. We could have chosen to whom the output should go, but this 25 ADA is going to the Eternal wallet. Now we can sign with Nami. Okay, with this transaction, the transaction is validated. So we can now check the Explorer to see what happened. And for that, let's copy the address and source. We have 50 order, that is 1 and 2. We already consumed the 0th. Okay, so let's see that now. Plus 75 order and minus 25 order. And in this transaction, this amount was redeemed and sent to this address. The fee is also deducted from that 25 order UTXO. And yeah, this is we can test contracts with Kuber. We can test different conditions and then submit the transaction. Another thing we can try out is seeing the behavior. Can compile this once again because this text has already been consumed. So we will try with the first one and leaving this signature. Let's say change the redeemer. What happens if we change the redeemer? It says wrong input. Now this wrong input is coming from our contract itself, and that checks whether or not the redeemer is correct, and if it's wrong, then it says wrong. Okay, yeah, this is how we make transactions in Kuber. There are other features you can have a look at, like meeting scripts. With meeting scripts, you can compile the script and then use them to mint the tokens.
So, did you enjoy the demo? I certainly did. I think this demo showed how easy it is to use Kuber and the Kuber IDE and how much easier it can make the developer experience for developers coming into Cardano. So definitely a very important tool to have and a very valuable one. And I hope you can help us by sharing this video with anyone you know so that we can reach more people and so that they become aware how easy it is to develop on Cardano right now, especially for builders. I think having these tools is very good and it can attract a lot of builders to come and build great things for us, which is amazing because at the end of the day, if we have great products, the adoption will certainly increase as well with people wanting to try these great products. But if you're a builder or a developer yourself, or you'd like to develop on Cardano, then I have a great treat for you at the end of this video. That it's a video on Marlow, a new language, a new smart contract language for Cardano developed by IOG that is super simple and intuitive to use, and that most of all also has a drag and drop feature where you don't even need to code. You can just use that drag and drop that is Blockly, I think, and just create your own smart contract logic and do a lot of things. It's surprisingly flexible, so you should definitely check it out. And on my side, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, and I'll see you in the video about Marlow.